A very good morning to all of you. I am Dr. Dvipika Garg, and today we would be covering part 2 of cephalometric analysis. So in the previous videos, we have seen the basics of cephalometry. Then we saw the part 1 of cephalometric analysis, wherein we covered Downs analysis and width appraisal. And today we would be covering two more, that is Steiner's analysis and your Tweed's analysis. All these analyses are very common, very simple. All of you must have done it during your BDS tenure. But it is very much important for you to brush up on your basics so that you can thoroughly do your MCQ questions. Right? So yes, let us begin with cephalometric analysis part 2. And the first one which we would be seeing today is our Steiner's analysis. Steiner's analysis, I'm sure, is like everybody's favorite because it is simple compared to the other ones. And the first slide which you see here is all the parameters which are given and the normal values. As I've told earlier, remembering the normal value is important when you are a BDS student, but when you are attempting your NEET MDS examination, if you are little here and there with your values, that is completely okay because they'll be giving you or generally mentioning the values in the question, right? So yes, so hoping that you all can, go through all the values from the textbook. My job is to make sure that your fundas are clear so that you know when a particular value is going beyond the range, what and how it is, and what interpretation you have to garner from it, right? So moving on to the very first parameter which was given by Steiner's, that is your SNA. Okay, so SNA, SNB, A and B, all of you must be very much thorough with it. So just remember that these were given by Steiner's. So the first analysis is SNA analysis, which is formed by joining the SN line, which is your anterior cranial base, with NA line. Okay, when these two planes intersect each other, we get an angle which becomes your SNA angle. Right, so we have seen all the horizontal planes in the very first basic session, where we saw that first horizontal plane is your SN plane, which is known as anterior cranial base. Next was your Frankfurt horizontal plane, which is which joins orbital and porion. The next thing which we saw was palatal plane, occlusal plane, and the mandibular plane. Then NA was one plane which we saw in the vertical lines. Okay, so when two planes intersect each other, we get an angle. So when SN line is intersecting with NA, the inside inferior angle which we get is your SNA angle. Okay, now from the table you all can make out that there is a particular value which is which represents the normal value of SNA. If it is 82, okay, the normal SNA value is 82, and there is always a range to it. So when my SNA value goes beyond the range, it indicates that my maxillary component is ahead. It means my maxilla is anteriorly placed. Why? Because if this is normal 82, if it is increasing, then it will be something like this. My NA line would be this way. So my SNA increases, it is indicative of prognathic maxilla. It means my maxillary component is ahead. In which cases do we have a prognathic maxilla? You should be knowing that in class 2 cases, it can be either retrognathic mandible or prognathic maxilla, or a combination of these two things. Okay, so when SNA increases, it is indicative of prognathic maxilla. Next, if my SNA reduces, suppose it is 75 degrees, how do you interpret it? It indicates that my maxilla is retrognathic. It is posteriorly placed. In which situation is my maxilla retrognathic? It is retrognathic in class 3 cases. When there is a class 3 case, it can be indicative of either retrognathic maxilla, prognathic mandible, or a combination of these two. Okay, assuming that my mandible is normal, in such situations we assume that the other component is normal. So if SNA increases, it is indicative of prognathic maxilla, and if it is less, it is indicative of retrognathic maxilla. Okay, moving on to the next component, which is your SNB angle. So now similar to SNA, SNB is formed by intersection of SN line with NB line. When these two lines intersect, the inside inferior angle which we get is your SNB angle. So now B is related to mandible. So let us assume that my maxilla is very normal. Okay, if my maxillary component is assumed to be normal, then in such cases, if my SNB value is more than the normal range, it indicates that my mandible is prognathic. Okay, obviously this is the normal SNB. Suppose it is 80 degree, the normal value they have given is 80 degree, right? Now suppose that it has come to, when you're tracing SNB, this is how it goes, and the angle which you measure is 95 degree. If it is 95, it is indicative of prognathic mandible. Why? Because my SNB value has increased. On the other hand, if my SNB value is less than the normal value, it is indicative of retruded mandible. Retruded mandible is indicative of class 2. Okay, whenever we get such cases, when we get an orthodontic case, we start with the case, we take up the cephalogram and start tracing it. So SNA, SNB are very two important parameters which we always take into consideration. However, we do not follow any parameter blindly. Okay, SNB can be increased because of multiple points, because of multiple areas. So all these things have to be taken into consideration. But that is mainly not very important for NEET MBS point of view. You should be knowing the interpretations very well though, right? So if SNB is more, it is indicative of prognathic mandible, and if it is less, it is indicative of retruded mandible. Assuming that my maxilla is normal. Sorry. Next, moving on to the next parameter. The next parameter which we have is ANB angle. We saw SNA, SNB. Okay, ANB is angle which is formed when two lines NA, NB are made, and this inside angle which we formed is your SNA angle. Other way of calculating your SNA angle is by SNA minus SNB, which is equal to ANB. So if your SNA is 84 and if your SNB is say 78, so your ANB angle becomes 6 degrees, correct? So this is the other way of measuring ANB angle in case you do not want to trace it on the cephalogram. If only SNA, SNB is there along with you, then you can easily calculate A and B. In case you have been told only to calculate A and B directly, so you take two lines from N, drop it at A, drop it at B. The inferior angle the inside angle which you get becomes your A and B. Okay, so A and B is the angle which is formed by subtracting SNA from SNB. If it is more than the normal range, it means either my maxilla is ahead or mandible is behind. But where does the problem lie has to be calculated, whether it is in the maxilla or in the mandible. Okay. The next parameter given by Steiners is my occlusal plane angle. How do you calculate occlusal plane angle? What do we draw? First we draw the anterior cranial base, that is your ascent line. And then we draw the occlusal plane. Occlusal plane was taught in the previous lecture where one of the horizontal line was occlusal plane, which is made by joining the occlusal tip of posterior and incisal edge of anterior. So this angle, when you stretch it backwards, okay, when you draw it back, the angle which you get becomes your occlusal plane angle. Occlusal plane angle is indicative of your canting. It indicates canting also, like the cant of occlusal plane which we had in Downs. It will tell you whether my occlusal plane is less or more. If it is more, maybe my incisal show is excess, maybe the anterior component of maxilla is pushed downwards. Okay, and if it is less, maybe the incisal show is less, or maybe there is problem with my posteriors. So basically, to find out about the canting, whether we want to know, we want to intrude anteriors, extrude it, intrude or extrude the posteriors. Basically, to change the occlusal plane, we should know this particular angle. Okay. The next parameter given by Steiners is your mandibular plane angle. Simple. See, when you are calculating occlusal plane angle, when you are calculating mandibular plane angle, see how simple it is. You are doing it with respect to your sella nasion. You are doing it with respect to your anterior cranial base. So my SN remains constant, but what is changing is my next line which you are intersecting with the SN. That is either occlusal or is it mandibular. So now to calculate mandibular plane angle, you intersect it with the sella nasion line, and this angle which you get becomes your mandibular plane angle. If my mandibular plane angle increases, it is indicative of hyperdivergent facial profile. Okay, so facial profile or facial pattern can be either hyperdivergent or it can be hypodivergent as seen earlier. If it is hyperdivergent, okay, then what happens? My mandible is rotated clockwise. In such cases, my lower anterior facial height is often more. Okay, so there are different ways how you get to know whether the patient is hyperdivergent, hypodivergent, and based on that, basically you decide the treatment plan also. Okay, if suppose the patient is hyperdivergent, it is favorable for you to extrude the posterior teeth because that will bring the patient to normodivergence. But if the patient is already hyperdivergent, you will never extrude the posterior teeth. Okay, because that will worsen the facial profile. Anyways, so mandibular plane angle is calculated by intersection of two lines, that is your sella nasion with the occlusal plane. Okay, and I have shown you the difference between the mandibular plane for downs and Steiners. For downs it is gonion to menton, and for Steiners it is gonion to nathion. Okay, so whenever you are calculating the mandibular plane for Steiners, you have to join two landmarks, that is gonion and nathion. So if my mandibular plane angle is less, it means the patient is hypodivergent. Now, next parameter is upper incisor to NA. Okay, this is the name of the parameter. Upper incisor to NA. So my N, I'll drop a line from touching nasion and point A, and I will draw a line along the long axis of upper incisor. So this angle which I am getting is my upper incisor to NA angle. Imagine if my angle is increasing, okay, it will increase if my long axis comes here, so it is increasing by this much, and if my long axis comes here, it means my upper incisors are proclined. Okay, so if my upper incisor to NA angle increases, it is indicative of proclined upper incisors, and if it is reduced, then the upper incisors are retroclined. Simple. So when you need to correct the proclination, you know the chief complaint of the patient is proclined upper incisors. You want to correct the proclination, you'll have to calculate how much the teeth are proclined. Only then you can decide how much you have to retract the teeth. Okay, so based on all these angles, you basically get to know how much retraction has to be done. Okay, so moving on to the next parameter which we have, that is upper incisor to NA linear. What did you see? In the first parameter was upper incisor to NA angle. Now we have to measure the linear value. Okay, so what do? You draw a straight line from N to A, and then you see the horizontal distance between the line NA and the tip of the incisor. So the horizontal distance which you get becomes your upper incisor to NA linear. Okay, so it will tell you in terms of linear parameters, that is in terms of centimeters, millimeters, basically it is millimeters, that how much my teeth are proclined. If upper incisor to NA linear, normal value is 2 millimeter, and when you trace it, you get 7 millimeters. It indicates that my maxillary anterior teeth, basically my central incisor, is ahead, meaning it's proclined. Okay, so do not get confused in this. The first parameter was upper incisor to NA angle, where you were measuring the angulation to know how much they are proclined, okay, in terms of degrees. Then the next thing you saw was in terms of millimeters. So you draw a line from N to A, and if suppose this is the tip of my central incisor, so the horizontal distance which you get becomes your upper incisor to NA linear. So basically, you know, when we ask how much the teeth are proclined, it is like the teeth are proclined by 13 degrees and 7 millimeters. It has to be both in degrees as well as millimeters. So degrees is calculated by using the previous parameter, and millimeters is calculated by using this parameter. Okay, so this is your proclination or retroclination of upper incisors, both in degrees as well as in linear value, that is your millimeter. Moving on, the next parameter which we have is lower incisor to NB angulation. Okay, so what do? You draw a straight line from N to P and draw a straight line along the long axis of the lower incisor. The angle which you get in between is known as your lower incisor to NB angle. Again, if my angulation increases, it is indicative of my lower incisor proclination, and if my angle decreases, it means they are retrocline. But if it is within the normal range, we can say that my lower incisors are upright on the alveolar base. Okay, so these are all very simple parameters given by whom? Given by Steiners, which says it will tell you about the position of what? Maxilla in respect to the cranial base. How do you get it? In terms of SNA. Next is position of mandible in terms of anterior cranial base. Why? Because you are doing it with respect to SN, with respect to sella nasion, which is your anterior cranial base. So position of maxilla and position of mandible in relation to my cranial base is indicated by SNA and SNB. Next parameter we saw was A and B, that is relationship of maxilla with the mandible. Okay, because A is for maxilla, B is for mandible. So relationship of maxilla and mandible with each other is checked by A and B angle. The next thing which we saw was occlusal plane and mandibular plane. Again, both these planes are with respect to your anterior cranial base, because we are doing it with respect to SN. SN to occlusal plane, SN to mandibular plane. Okay, so what did we see first? Maxilla in relation to cranial base, mandible in relation to cranial base, occlusal plane in relation to cranial base, mandibular plane in relation to cranial base. So this is how you are relating everything to the cranial base, right? Then what we saw? Proclination or retroclination, basically angulation or the inclination of upper and lower incisors in both terms of degrees as well as linear. Okay, so these are the things which are given by Steiners and they comes under Steiners analysis. So till now we have seen Downs analysis and Witts analysis in our previous video. In case students you have not seen the previous video, please go back to my YouTube channel and check out the video, that is cephalometric analysis part 1. Okay, this is part 2 where we are covering Steiners and Tweed's analysis. We have already seen Steiners analysis, coming up to Tweed's analysis. Tweed analysis was given by Tweed and it is one of the most simplest, easiest and everybody's favorite, because there are 3 parameters in it, that is FMA, FMIA and IMPA. Okay, now let us see each parameter in depth. The first parameter is FMA. This is your FMA. FMA is Frankfurt mandibular angle. Why? Because it is formed by the intersection of 2 lines, that is my Frankfurt horizontal, which is formed by 2 landmarks, orbital and porion, and the thing and it intersects with mandibular and mandibular plane angle. In the previous video we have seen that for Tweed the mandibular angle is formed when we trace the mandible angle that is drawn tangent to the mandible. So the tangent to the mandible is the mandibular plane angle for Tweeds. And what is orbital to podion? It is your Frankfurt horizontal. So this becomes your FMA, Frankfurt mandibular angle, and the normal value is 25 degrees. In case my FMA is more than 25 degrees, what does it indicate? It indicates hyperdivergence. That is, my mandibular plane angle is rotated clockwise. My FH remains constant. My FH doesn't change. It is in relation to mandibular plane angle, which can increase or reduce. In case it increases, it means my mandibular angle is rotated clockwise. The patient is hyperdivergent. In case it is less than 25 degrees, say if it is 17 degree, then I will say that my mandibular plane is rotated anti-clockwise or the patient is hypodivergent. Okay, so this is the first angle. The next thing which we see is FMIA, that is Frankfurt, because Frankfurt is there, and mandibular incisor angle. So we draw a straight line touching the lower incisors. We draw a long axis to the lower incisor and intersect it with our Frankfurt horizontal plane. This inside inferior angle which we get is known as your FMIA. Okay, the normal value is 65 degrees. Please note, now we are forming a triangle when we join these 2 lines and form the third angle, which is known as your IMPA. That is incisor mandibular plane angle. Why? Because one line is joining the long axis of the lower incisor, other is joining the mandibular plane. So this angle which we are getting becomes your IMPA. Okay, the normal value for IMPA is 90 degrees. Now, again inference, if you have understood, you'll be able to infer it yourself. If suppose my IMPA increases and it comes to 100 degrees, it means my lower incisors are what? Proclined in respect to mandibular base. Okay, and if it is less than 90 degrees, it means they're retroclined over the mandibular base. Now, since what do we get when we join these three angles? We get a triangle. And what is the subtotal of a triangle? Mathematics concept, the subtotal of triangle is equal to 180 degrees, correct? So when we join this, what do we get? 180 degrees. Suppose you have done analysis and suppose you're a final year student and you have been given a cephalometry to trace and they have told you to do tweed analysis. So when you do the analysis, you very honestly note down all the values. Okay, what you get. In case your total is not equal to 180 degree, it means there is some problem in either of the measurements which you have taken. So what you need to do is go back and check your analysis, because one of the values among these three is incorrect in case you are not getting a total of 180 degree. Because it's a tweed triangle, that sum total of all the angles of a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. So when you're totaling up these three parameters, it should be equal to 180 degree. Right? So this is how you infer FMA, FMIA and IMPA. Right? This is Frankfurt mandibular angle. So in tweeds, the basic line which he has taken, the horizontal plane which he has considered is your orbital to porion, which is your Frankfurt horizontal plane. Keeping Frankfurt horizontal plane, he has measured mandibular angle and he has measured the inclination of lower incisors. Okay, so this was tweeds analysis for you. I hope both stenos and tweeds are very much clear to you people. With this, we are done with the cephalometric analysis, where we have covered 4 analysis, that is your towns, your stenos, tweeds and width appraisal. See students, these 4 analysis of primary importance, because these are the most basic analysis which you do in your 3rd and final year, and these sessions are all your brush up sessions, where we'll be revising each and everything which you have done in your final year. Then we would be moving on to higher and tougher topics, okay, which are like myofunctional appliances or orthopedic appliances. These are a little tricky and I'm sure all the students get a little confused in this. So we'll be covering up those. Andrew's 6 keys to malocclusion. This topic has already been covered and it is there on my YouTube channel. In case you people have not checked it out, just go through it. And for cephalometric analysis, if there is absolutely any doubt with respect to any analysis, write down on the comment section below. I will get back to you people. Okay, and regarding the normal values, it is given very well in the textbook, especially Balaji. So people can go through that. My basic motive was to make sure you people can analyze the cephalogram which is given to you. And one thing more that we need to cover is MCQs based on this. So I'll be bringing few MCQ sessions for you people, but that is not purely on cephalometry. That would be again a mixed bag of orthodontic questions. So students, stay tuned because there is a lot more coming up. Lot more MCQs are on the way. Okay. Thank you so much for your patient hearing. All the very best students. Thank you.